Cowboys, this is a game where you got to look in the mirror and say, okay, well, we have to pay Tony Pollard, most likely. You're gonna have to decide whether you want to pay him. You have Zeke, who's regressing. You have Dak Prescott, who this is what you get with Dak Prescott. You're gonna get maybe a playoff win, but you're not gonna beat the superior teams. You're not gonna get into shootouts with them. You have the best defense, one of the best defenses in the league. So for the Cowboys, they got to look in the mirror and say, what do we want to be? Do we rebuild or do we go after another quarterback that's better?
Yeah, what's next for the Cowboys? Because I think someone's going to give Tony Pollard a bag. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think Jerry Jones is going to want to pay him, but I honestly think he's going to be a little bit nervous to pay him because how can you go ahead and give a running back a massive bag like Tony Pollard, who I think is good, but I think someone will definitely overpay for him more than that will bring them less value than his contract is worth, even though I think he's a great player and deserves all the money he can get. But if you're Jerry Jones, I just paid Ezekiel Elliott a lot of money and it screwed our team. And it screwed us from being able to bring in better receivers than we could. So it's
Or
like,
to keep Amari Cooper.
yeah, or to keep Amari Cooper. So it's like, and then you're not able to move on from him until this year. So it's like, you have to move on from Zeke, but someone also is going to want to shell out for Tony Pollard unless you make the same mistake and handicap yourself again. It's the cycle of life seems like we've been with the Cowboys. I know they're not going to move on from Dak. So what moves can you see them making that'll help them make a deeper run next year, if any?
Trade for D Hop.
Yeah.
I could see them trading for D Hop because they're one of those teams that they go for it. You know, whether they don't necessarily, or even in the draft, they don't necessarily go for their whole. They'll go for who's the best player,
Right.
which worked with CeeDee Lamb. So credit to them. But for them, I see them making a play at wide receiver, going after a D Hop, or if they can, they're going to make a call for Lamar Jackson. I think.
Really? You
Yeah,
think so?
yeah. Because if you're going to pay a quarterback $50 million, would you rather pay Lamar Jackson or Dak Prescott? And Jerry Jones is all about flash. That's all he cares about. He's Hollywood. He wants his team to be glitz and glamour. That's why he signed Zeke. That's why he went after CeeDee Lamb. That's why he's done the things that he's done over not just over the last decade,
Yeah.
the last 30 years. That's what he's always done.
But I feel like the problem with the Cowboys has been Jerry Jones's closeness to guys who aren't the best players, like Tony Romo. He always thought of Tony Romo as a son. Same with Jason Garrett, which is why Jason Garrett was continuously allowed to go 8-8. No, I think he should get another opportunity as a head coach. I don't think Jason Garrett. I think he had lost the locker room a few years after they parted ways from the Cowboys. So it's like him and Tony Romo and Dak coming in, and he really didn't want to move on from Tony Romo, even though he'd been struggling with injuries and been an average quarterback. So it's like for Jerry Jones to move on from a guy like Dak and even bring in a guy like Mike McCarthy, I just don't know if he's gonna even consider moving on because the Cowboys are worth more than any sports franchise in the world right now. So you also have that. So you make money just on being pretty good every year. So I don't know if he's ever going to make the trades necessary to be the number one contender. And then once you have to pay Micah Parsons,
Bag 30 million.
yeah. You want to talk about breaking the bank? That guy's going to break the bank. So it's like, I respect Jerry Jones for taking care of his guys, but leads him to paying Ezekiel Elliott way too much money. He paid Dak Prescott way too much money. Dak Prescott was a guy before. If he didn't have a 100-yard rusher, pretty bad quarterback.